Good morning. Morning. Okay. So today we'll continue on the second part of the important topic. I said career planning. It's important to you. It's important to me. It's important to each one of us. A short recap before we continue. In the last lecture, we said that the old traditional concept of joining a good company and the employer taking the brunt of planning your career is no longer there. Why? Because the whole character of industry has changed. Character of business has changed. There is uncertainty in the environment. Things change very fast. And things have changed dramatically after the information technology revolution. And therefore, companies have become so competitive that the traditional concept of kind of lifetime employment in either one or two companies is now missing. Companies, because of competition, have become more unstable in the sense they have to right size, downsize, restructure, and in the process, a lot of employees, they lose their jobs. So therefore, this concept having changed, the traditional concept of career planning for employees is no longer valid, and a new model is necessary. And therefore, we discussed in the last lecture, the new model is focusing more on having the responsibility, at least the prime responsibility, of managing and planning the career on the individual or the employee himself. And the role of the organization then in this new model becomes subsidiary. The organization's role is a supportive role, but the main role and responsibility is the employee's role. So, this is a recap of what we have done so far on this topic in the last lecture. Now, continuing on this theme, career management by individuals focusing on themselves. It is important to emphasize the increasingly temporary relationship between individuals and organizations. You have to internalize this. Today, when you enter a good company at the start of your career, don't think in terms of more than 3 to 5 years of stay and sojourn in that company. Otherwise, you will be in for trauma. Once you think that you are there for a 3-year contract, let us say, although it's not a contract, or a 5-year contract, and then you have to move on, what happens to you? Immediately your thought processes start working. Immediately you try and acquire knowledge and skills, which you can carry away. And that is what is important in the knowledge-driven era that we have already entered. So, understand that it is temporary. A job is just an opportunity to learn new skills that you can take and then sell elsewhere in the marketplace. Does it sound very cynical? No, I don't think it's cynical. It's not a lifetime contract. It is a short-term contract. Look at it that way. 3 years, 5 years. Within the contract, you contract with the employer to give him the benefit of your labor, your knowledge, whatever type of work you're doing, and he in return gives you pay, perquisites, and good hygiene conditions, congenial place, opportunity to learn, opportunity to develop. So you have to take the maximum use of those opportunities which are there. You have to take that opportunity to learn new skills. What is the takeaway after 5 years? You have to concentrate on that. Then sell it. Sell means, well, you're not actually selling. That's why it's in inverted commas. You are actually saying when you go to the next employer at the end of 3 or 5 years that this is what I can offer you. This is what you have learned in the last company, and you then sell it elsewhere in the marketplace. So, I don't think it's a cynical view, but I think it is a pragmatic and a personal view and a practical view. Why? Because there is a paradigm shift so far as job market and careers are concerned. in your career, it's not the same. The rules of the game have changed than at the time when we had our careers, right? The fact is that the responsibility for career development ultimately belongs to each individual. Please understand this fact. No point moaning and complaining that the environment or someone else or your boss didn't allow you to do a successful career. You are the master of your fate and the captain of your soul, so far as your career planning and success is concerned. However, having said that, few individuals are technically prepared and willing. That is the prime consideration. Having understood and internalized this concept and this thought of temporary contract, you must be willing to spend time and effort to learn those new skills where you are getting the opportunity to acquire and to carry it away in your briefcase, portable skills. Prepare to handle this assignment because very few, college programs specifically address the problems of managing one's own career. There is no course that we know of which talks of career planning and career management. However, as long as it remains difficult for organizations to match the career expectations of their employees, one option for employees is to change organizations. Change. We often talked of change. We had a topic on change management. Well, here is change for you in a most important area, and that is your own lives and your own career. You have to change organizations. Consider that as an option. So, changing organizations. Selecting a field of employment and employer. First step is to think in terms of where you ultimately want to be, because only then you can chart a course, set a direction to reach that ultimate goal. Recognize, of course, that your career goals will change over time. Once you fix a goal at the start of your career, that goal is not going to remain the same after 10 years, 20 years. Why? Because again the environment is fluid. It is changing, it is turbulent, it is uncertain. View every potential employer and position in terms of your long-range career goal. Not that you are getting 1,000 rupees more and so you leave this job and go on to the next job. That is a very short term and shall we say a myopic view. Long-range career goal. Then ask yourself the question. What is that? How well does this job serve to position me in terms of my ultimate objective? Positioning yourselves. Positioning means what? That your goal has not ended here. You are enabling yourself, positioning yourself, putting yourself in the right place to ultimately go to the objective, the ultimate objective. For example, you want to reach senior management by next 10 years, let us say. Consider the extent to which your current job helps you to develop a global orientation. Just think about it. Why? And to what extent that the job you are doing today, now, helps you to develop public speaking skills. Does the job help you or doesn't help you? What extent does it help you to practice the bring out the best in people? That means, do you have an opportunity in your present job to develop people? Bringing out the best in them means developing people, making them perform up to their full potential. Does this job offer you that? Say you have no one reporting to you. It's a kind of technical job using your technical knowledge with no direct reports. No one reports to you. Obviously, is not going to give you practice in bringing out the best in people. Leadership style and learn to manage diversity. Asking yourself these questions. The job I am doing now, I am happy with it, no doubt. I get good pay and perks. But if my ultimate goal is to reach senior management in 10 years, what does a senior management person require to do? Those things. Is this job helping me to learn what is required to be practiced as a senior manager? Because if it's not, then at the end of 10 years, are you going to be equipped to handle a senior manager's position? No. So then your planning has failed. That is why it says ask this, because these are key requirements for the senior management position which you have set the goal to attain in the next 10 years. Is that clear? Okay. Accept short-term trade-off for long-term benefits. Again, you are in a marathon, don't be unduly perturbed if there is a short-term reverse also, a slightly lower salary, let us say. Okay, a promotion which you felt you should have got but you didn't get, provided the job is giving you all those other things we talked about just now. That means those qualities and attributes which are required for senior management position, job is giving you the opportunity to practice that in abundance. Then trade that off and say, doesn't matter if I didn't get that little promotion, I'll still stick on here. Certain lateral moves or low paying jobs, that's what I said just now, can provide very valuable training opportunities or career contacts. Let's take an example. By and large, if you are in a large organization, large organizations have got compartmentalized jobs. That means they specialize. Volume of operations is so high that you will do a specialist job in a large department which only does those jobs, all right. Contrast that with an opportunity which you get to join a small organization, an entrepreneur-driven organization which is small, there are few people and you have an opportunity to be one of the managers of only 4 or 5 managers, all right, in a small organization. If you are aspiring to be a senior manager in 10 years, maybe you join this company, although it may mean losing a few perquisites which you are enjoying in your current company. Why? Because it gives you the platform which provides a learning opportunity to hone those skills, practice those skills of versatile management. Because in a small company, you get an opportunity as one of those few managers to do a lot of work in a lot of functions, some part of finance, some part of HR, because there are few managers. These managers have to handle all the functions, which otherwise you would not have got in the large organization. Okay, so that's what it says. Certain lateral moves. Don't only join companies because it's giving you a better job or a better designation or a better salary. Sometimes move laterally. Even, all right, lateral move, low paying jobs can provide very valuable training opportunities or career contacts. Then consider carefully whether to accept highly specialized jobs or isolated job assignment that might restrict or impede your visibility or career development. Think about that. Too much specialization is going to do what to you so far as your career is concerned? It will limit your options, will it not? We talked about internalizing the concept of having multiple employment in your career, not 1 or 2 companies. Now, if you go to an area of specialization in which only 3 companies are operating or just 2, obviously you have no choice, you are limiting your choice. Then, more importantly, isolated job assignment. What does it mean? Say you are posted out for 10 years in Andaman Island or Nicobar, you are isolated. Consider that against getting a job, maybe less paying, but in the heart of Bombay, okay, the financial capital of the country, job opportunities are many more out there. Maybe if you have a long-term career plan, you will not go to Andaman, even if it costs you twice, even if it gets you twice as much money, you'd rather choose to remain in Bombay. That's what it means. Your visibility or career development. Visibility is what? People should know where Mr. So-and-so is. You should be socially available there. You should be aware that networking is important. You should be known there instead of secluded, recluse in some isolated place. That's not good for your career maybe. Knowing where you are. Always be aware of opportunities in your current job. For example, training programs that may help you for your career development. There are many opportunities in our own jobs. You know, in the humdrum existence, we always have urgencies in whatever jobs we are doing, you know. As we have discussed, I think sometime, you may say there are 4 types of jobs which every manager does. The urgent, the non-urgent, the important, and the not so important. And research has shown that the average manager in the typical working day does the non-important but the urgent jobs. Alright. Now, whilst you do all that, don't forget that you have opportunities in the job you are doing for self-development, like training. Alright. Assess your current performance honestly. So, in our innermost heart and soul, we know many things which our bosses may not know, or friends and colleagues don't know. And that is, have we done the job as well as we could have done it, or we haven't? Be honest about it. How do you see yourselves, and how do you think higher management sees your performance? Spend time, take out time from your busy schedule to reflect on these things, to ask these questions. Ask yourself, am I in the right job? Are my skills of real value to my organization? What does that mean? Are you substitutable or are you unsubstitutable? If it's of real value to the organization, maybe your stability coefficient, your employer will think many times in a downsizing scenario to ask you to leave. What other positions might fit my needs and skills well? Examine these things by asking yourself these questions. Recognize when you and your organization have outlived your utility for each other. What does that mean? Comes a time in your career, all right, when you see that your organization is not growing, let us say, or not diversifying into areas, and therefore the opportunities that you have of learning something new, portable knowledge which you can carry away, self-development is becoming few and far between, all right, and the organization also feels there's not very much more which they have to offer you. That is a time when you find that your organization and you have outlived your utility for each other. Now, here utility basically means coming very, very practical, becoming very practical. After all, you and your organization have a mutual contract. Organization needs you, you need the organization. But if you have outlived utility, each other, then you better leave. This is not an admission of failure, but rather an honest reflection of the fact that there is little more that the organization can do for you. And in turn, your contribution to the organization has reached a point of diminishing returns. What is that? Diminishing returns. Anyone knows? Economists use this. Diminishing returns. Well, you can just sum it up by saying that the efforts that you put, all right, are not commensurate with the returns that you will get. So, if you put in 10 units of effort, if earlier you got 10 units of returns or you got 15 units of returns, now you may get 1 unit of return. If you put in 20 units of effort, all right, you may get half an unit of return. So, that is diminishing returns. Okay. Some symptoms to recognize are, when you ask these questions, you are not enjoying by the work what you are doing. You are not enjoying what you are doing. Or further advancement in the current company or the current department is blocked. Or your organization is poorly managed and is losing market share. So, these are ominous signs which you must look for. Or you feel that you are not adequately rewarded. Okay? Most of us feel that most of the time, don't we? Or you feel that you are not fulfilling your dreams. All right? So, these are some of the symptoms to recognize whether the point of diminishing return has been reached or not. And if you come to the conclusion that yes, maybe we have reached that point, the magic point, then you have to plan your exit. As we said, you have to be prepared to change organizations in your career. And when you plan your exit, what is that planning? What is the planning content? It means try to leave your organization at your convenience, when it is convenient for you to leave. Maybe you have some family problem. Maybe your wife is expecting a child. So, maybe you don't want to relocate by taking another job because you would like to be here for another 6 months or 8 months. So, these are certain conditions. These are your conveniences. So, you must plan in such a way that when you leave the organization, it's at your convenience and not the organization's. To achieve, to do this, you must know when it is time to leave, means plan for it. Since downsizing can come to you at any time, it's a sword of Damocles hanging over you when you go into your careers in the coming 30 years. Networking, establish networking relationship while you still have a job. Remember, that is very difficult to get an equivalent job when you no longer have that job, and it can happen tomorrow. Are we being alarmist? No, I don't think so, because paradigm has changed. You are in a job today, you may not be in a job tomorrow. All right? So, network. Network means get friends, you get contacts in your industry, in your locality, through various platforms, maybe your social club, maybe through your relatives. But in time of need, be in a position to pick up a telephone and ask for some help. If you have a good network in place, it will be that much more easy for you to find a suitable employment if you are in a crisis and you lose your present job. Okay. Next in the plan, exit your current organization on good terms, not under questionable circumstances. What does that mean? Say there is downsizing and say you have been asked to leave. Does it mean that you should quarrel with them and fight with them? No, you should not. Take a mature view, make it a sensible kind of an exit where you don't burn your boats, so to say. Who knows? Maybe the same organization, all right, may have a need for your knowledge and skills, maybe a few years down the line, and may invite you to join back. So, don't burn your boats. Don't say you don't agree with this dance housing, it's a wrong policy, and why you have picked on me, and so on and so forth. Exit your current organization good terms and not under questionable circumstances. Right? Do not leave your current job unless you have got another one, because it is easier to find a new job when you are currently employed. It's quite dramatic. When you have a job, how much easier it is to get another one than when you don't have a job. It's quite dramatic. The position suddenly changes dramatically. Now, all this time we are talking about the prime responsibility is the individual's to plan his career and what he has to do. Now, let's come, because we said earlier, a supplementary role is also of the organizations. So, the role of the organization, all right, should be a proactive force in this process. Why? Because for them to do this, they must think and plan in terms of shorter employee relationships. So, change your focus now. You are looking at yourself as an employee, planning your own career. Now, look at yourself as an HR manager in the organization, where you have a supplementary role to support the career plan of people who report to you. Okay? Change that focus and then think. The organization should be, so you are now the organization man, a proactive force in this process. Okay? For the organization, for them to do this, they must think and plan in terms of shorter employee relationship. You must also think, all those people who report to you. Don't expect them to stay with you forever and ever. Maybe 3 years, 5 years, think of it. This can be done through fixed term employee contracts with options for renegotiation and extension. See, these are the shape of things to come, instead of what we used to have, perpetual contract, so to say, with a exit clause on both sides, 3 months or 6 months or 1 month, all right, but till age of superannuation. Don't think in those terms anymore when you are the HR manager. Think in terms of short term contracts with options for renegotiation. Once the contract is there, so you take an employee, offer him a 3-year contract, let us say, on terms and conditions. After that, it's that mutual option. If the employee wants to stay on with you, fine. If you want him, fine. If you don't want him, okay, that's fine too, and if he doesn't want you. But if you give him another contract, it should be on terms which are renegotiated. He may want a bigger salary, he may want some perquisites, and so on. This is the shape of things to come. This is the kind of support you can give as a HR manager. Career self-management. Let's take a case study here, the real case that happened. How this new type of model of career planning by individuals themselves, supported by employers, how it happened in Hewlett-Packard. They use a 3-month course in personal career management. So, they have designed a course which they give to their executives for personal career management. It includes a written self-interview. That is, participants are given 11 questions to answer about themselves. They are asked to provide facts about their lives, people, places, events, and to discuss the future and the transitions they have made or are going to make, have or are going to make, future, past, both. Next, having answered that question about themselves, written about that, next is strong vocational interest inventory. So, participants complete these 325 item instrument, that is a questionnaire, to determine their preferences about occupations, academic subjects, type of people, etc. So, what it comes out then is an interest profile is developed for each individual by comparing his responses to those of successful people in a wide range of occupations. So, against a framework, those people who have been successful in various, all right, you compare your profile with theirs. Alport Vernon Lindsay study of values. This is an instrument which has been developed by these gentlemen. Each participant makes 45 choices amongst competing values in order to measure the relative strength of theoretical, economic, aesthetic, social, political and religious values. Now, we all know what is a value. Value is a fundamental and conviction or belief, okay, about many things. So, they use this instrument to establish what is your value, each individual's, which are competing, and under these classifications, some values, strength of theoretical, economic, aesthetic, social, political and religious values. 24-hour diaries. Participants log their activities during one working day and also during one non-working day. This is to try and find out their on-job and off-job interests. This information is used to confirm or occasionally contradict information from other sources. Some source may give information that you are really a person of limited interest, but this brings out a profile, this questionnaire, that you are very fond of gardening, fishing and photography. So, it contradicts what the management had heard about your lack of any other interest except coming to work. Then number 5, fifth step in this process of Hewlett-Packard is interviews with 2 significant others. Now, what do you mean by significant others? Each participant asks 2 people of importance to them, that is friends or spouse or relatives or co-workers or others, questions about himself. So, you pick your significant other, 2 of them, and you ask questions about yourself. The 2 interviews are tape recorded. Why do you do that? Because we all think about ourselves, all right, and have some, shall we say, image of ourselves, but very often these images are not correct because we don't know. Your physical image we normally know very well, is it not? Because you look into your mirror and you look at yourself today and then you look 10 years hence and you know you are looking older, you have those wrinkles, all right, you have those lines across your face, so you can see. But can you do that about your psychological self, your personality? No, you can't, but others can. Which others? All others. Then why do you ask significant others? Because others won't tell you what they see. Significant others who trust you and whom you trust will actually honestly tell you what they see of you in terms of your personality. That's why you ask them. So, you get honest feedback. So, they are your mirror to your psychological profile. Next is number 6, lifestyle representations. Participants depict their lifestyle using words, photos, drawings or whatever else they choose. Okay, clear? A key ingredient in this program of Hewlett-Packard is its emphasis on an inductive approach. The process proceeds from the specific to the general, that is the inductive approach, rather than from the general to the specific, which we call deductive approach. So, that is the emphasis. Participants solely recognize generalizations or themes within the large amounts of information they have produced and form a self-assessment of themselves. So, now you see this whole instrument, all right, is aimed at you understanding about yourself, and emphasis is inductive. You write a lot of specific things about yourself, all right, and from that emerges a general pattern. So, participants solely recognize generalizations or themes within the large amounts of information that they have produced and form a self-assessment of themselves. And following the self-assessment, department managers interview subordinates to learn about their career objectives. So, on the one hand, you develop your profile from specific to a general pattern. From that profile, it helps you to self-assess. Then you interview with your bosses and see that the career objectives that you have, do they match up? Are they congruent with what you have as a person, skills, abilities, values, or they don't? If they don't, that's where you require some tailoring. So, the record of these objectives, and they record these objectives and describe the people and positions currently in their departments. This information is then available for senior management to use in devising an overall human resource plan, defining the skills required and including a timetable. When data on company's future needs are matched against each employee's, help employees chart a career course in the company. Example, through training or additional job experience. Career development objectives for each employee are incorporated into performance objectives for the future performance appraisals. So, they integrate these findings into the performance management plan of the company. The department head then monitors the employee's career progress as a part of the review and is responsible for offering all possible support. So, this is what is Hewlett-Packard, what they do. This is what is the model that they follow. And results of career self-management program at Hewlett-Packard, what are the results? They did this and then they monitor and assess its success or otherwise. The company experienced far more flexibility in moving employees by transfer than previously. Means earlier to this program, maybe people refused to be transferred. They would rather resign. Now, they experience far more flexibility. People move. The company was able either to give employee reasons as to where they were, to develop a new career path for them in the company, or help them to move out. Okay. The overall employee turnover rate remained unchanged in the year following the self-management workshop. This indicates that employees appreciated this. They didn't look at it as a threat and then leave in fear. Turnover remained same. Within 6 months after the course, 37% of the participants had advanced to new jobs within the company, that is, got promotions or transfers, whilst 40% planned moves within the following 6 months. So, this helped them to make that decision of diminishing returns that we just talked about, that it's time to move out and move out amicably, and the process is supported by the company, because after having this 3-month program module which the company ran, they understood and decided to change the company. Of all those who advanced, 74% credited the program for playing a significant part in their job change. We say 37% had advanced. Of this 37%, 74% of this said it was due to the program. It played a significant part in their advancement, all right, for job change. An important outcome of the program was development of more purposeful and self-assured employees who perform better in competitive environments. Why do you think that happened? Because probably this self-assessment exercise, understanding yourself from the specific points of your personality profile and then seeing how it fits into the larger image or theme or pattern, this gives you confidence. You understand yourself better. When we talk of career planning into the future, in the coming years, important concept is dual career couples. That means where both the spouses are working, all right. This is a very challenging career management program for organizations. Means if you have a husband and wife couple working with you, what this is saying is for you as a HR manager is challenging. Why? Today in the US, 45% of the workforce are dual career couples, and I suspect that in India too, in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, the percentage, I do not know what is the percentage now, I do not have statistics, but it will increase significantly because of female education now, more and more girls seeking out careers for themselves. This is bound to happen. Dual career couples face the problems of managing work and family responsibilities. This is self-evident. When both husband and wife are working, who looks after the home, who looks after the children? So there are challenges there. These challenges are reflected into maybe problems or maybe issues within the workplace also. So you as HR manager therefore are willy-nilly part of this. So it's better to understand that this dual couple, all right, employees is going to proliferate in future, and then have plans and programs and policies to manage this efficiently. Research indicates that if dual career couples are to manage their family responsibilities successfully, they and their managers must be flexible. So you as HR manager must be flexible. They must be mutually committed to both careers. What does that mean? That means the husband and wife among themselves mutually must be committed to both their careers. The husband to the wife's career, wife to the husband's career. And the couple must be committed to the company and the company committed to the couple. Hence, the possibility of having flexibility from both sides. They must be mutually committed to both careers, and they must develop the competencies to manage their careers through planning, goal setting and problem solving. And organization's part for successful dual career management is to be flexible about work schedules and provide company supported child care. Where do you leave the children? So this is one role the company can play, which is of mutual benefit. If you have good dual couple employees, you don't want to let them go, they are contributing significantly to the company, then provide them with facilities, daycare where they can bring the little children, keep them, their mind is at rest, that they are being well looked after. At the end of the day, after work, the children go with them, and during the day they are cared for. It also requires customized career paths that include elements such as the ability to turn down advancement, and we offered it again in the future. What does that mean? The company policy must encourage it. You offer to transfer and they refuse it. That doesn't mean you write them off or blacklist them. Your policy must state next opportunity that comes for a transfer or an advancement must again be offered to them. That's what this means. The ability to turn down advancement for the employee and be sure that you are offered it again in the future if it arises. The ability to move laterally for development. You can't say that, look, the only way that you can grow in our organization is if you move on top. There must be lateral. You can move sideways too into departments, but of same responsibility level. The ability to turn down relocation and be asked again in the future. So what does that mean? Same as this. There was an opportunity for promotion, higher responsibility, but in another town. Dual couple, due to their own reasons, all right, good reasons, turned it down when offered. That doesn't mean they'll never be offered again. When an opportunity comes again, they should be clear in their mind that they will not be, left out. They'll be also made an offer. The ability to specialize in one area of the organization. So, if it helps their homemaking to remain in one place, and say it is the R&D which is in uni location, you don't have R&D facilities elsewhere in the company location. So, help them to specialize in R&D so that they can remain in that location. Career management practices, organizational entry. So, when people come in, when you induct new people, socialization is essential. This refers to the mutual adaptation of the new employee and the new employer to one another. It includes learning the organizational policies, norms and the traditions and values, getting to know one's peers, supervisors and subordinates. So, induction and orientation, this is important, and it comes right in the beginning. So, earlier you are talking of careers of 30 years, now you will be talking of a career which is multiple companies. So, each company may be 3 years, 5 years. So, therefore, it is all the more important that this induction and orientation is done effectively and quickly, because they are not going to stay there for too long. If you want them to contribute maximum in the short time they are with you, then this process of induction and orientation plays a significant role in bringing out that contribution from the employees. Socialization enhances the newcomer's commitment, job satisfaction, job performance and the desire for personal control. Next, mentoring. A mentor is a teacher, an advisor, a sponsorer and a confidant. What is the meaning of confidant? Confidant means someone whom you trust, to whom you can share some information, all right, some concerns, some fears, all right, or some triumphs which you would not share with the general public. He is a confidant. He is also your advisor. The mentor should be seasoned enough to understand the techniques of power and politics in the organization. Remember, power and politics play an important role in organization, and the mentor should be seasoned enough, a veteran, to understand that, and should also be willing to share this knowledge with one or more of the employees. Sometimes we have managers, all right, who are consummate politicians in the work sphere. They are consummate users of power and power play, but they don't like to share. Those guys can't be mentors. Mentors are those who would like to pass on the benefit of their knowledge to people whom they are mentoring. The mentor's role is also to be a culture carrier. What does that mean? It means to hand down the culture. Culture forms, traditions, common shared values, all right. It is comprising of what? Very important ingredient of culture is company myths, rituals, symbols. So, these are the things you have to familiarize. The mentor has to familiarize the person, as a carrier of that culture, and to teach the ropes. Ropes means what? Ropes are unwritten norms and codes of behavior within the organization. Unwritten. So, a new employee doesn't know it, and willy-nilly, simply because of ignorance, he may commit a faux pas. So, mentor tells him the ropes, and also to provide honest feedback on how the new entrants are being perceived by the others, and to serve as a confidential sounding board for dealing with work-related problems. So, mentor is a mirror of the soul, the personality. He is a person who must give honest feedback. I say, you are being praised for this, but you are not being praised for so and so behavior, right? And sounding board for dealing with work-related problems. There are problems, so you are the mentor, the person you are mentoring comes to you and he sounds out, I am having this problem, do you think I should do this, or I should take an alternative solution, and so on. That is mentoring. Next, career path ingredients. A should be real progression possibility. whether lateral upwards without implied normal rates of progress or forced specialization in a technical area. B, should be tentative and responsive to the changes in job content, work priorities, organizational patterns and management needs. C, should be flexible, taking into consideration the qualities of a particular employee, managers, subordinates or others who influence the way the work is performed. And finally, D, should specify skills, knowledge and other attributes required to perform effectively at each position along the paths and specify how they can be acquired. And with that, it brings us to the end of this topic on career planning and development. And in conclusion, we can sum up by saying today and into the future, the planning has to be done by each individual employee, supported by the employer, right? One has to view the career as a series of short contracts with multiple organizations, all right? One has to think of the career as a objective which has to be fulfilled by changing jobs, acquiring skills, carrying knowledge seamlessly across boundaryless organizations, all right, and generally keeping oneself employable, all right. Finally, one has to define what career success means to himself or herself and pursue the goals to see that it happens in both perspectives, in your personal life as well as in your work life. Thank you very much.